Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show. So today's video is going to be my first book review of this channel. I've really wanted to get back into reading, and I really wanted to do book reviews on this channel, so I'm really excited to do this. Massive shout out to Liz Kerin, which is the author, and the publicist team at Inkshares. They sent me an advance copy of this book for the purpose of reviewing. I'd like to stress that my views are going to be my own and they're not going to be influenced by this book being sent to me for free for the purposes of this review. This is like the first time anyone has ever sent me anything. So yeah, I'm really excited, and yeah, who knows, maybe I could become quite the book reviewer. The book title, hopefully I'm pronouncing her last name right, Liz Kerin, that's the author. It's her first book, and the book's called Forrest, and it's kind of like a dystopian type of genre. I'd compare it to, like, I wouldn't say the story is the same, but it's kind of got the same kind of feel as, say, Hunger Games, Divergent, all of those kind of young adult dystopian films. I'd say it's targeted towards kind of young adults, teenagers, tweens. I'd say that's kind of the target audience. I really wanted to keep it pristine, but it folded. I'm so annoyed. I hate when books fold. I tried to cover it in the thumbnail, but yeah, I feel like you know when you're into a book when it starts folding. Anyway, I'm just going to read the back blurb. So it says, so forgive me if my pronunciations of any of the names of the characters are wrong. If I'm wrong, just correct me in the comments. But every tree in the sacred forests of Lada houses a soul. Each of those souls will return to the mortal world for many future lives, but not all of them deserve to. Cecia's father told her the story of the Forest of Lada as a child, the most holy place in the underworld where all the souls go to rest before embarking on a new life. But Cecia's father is dead now, and his killer has put a target on her back. After she is chosen for the village's human sacrifice ritual, Cecia is transported to the underworld and must join forces with Haben, the demon to whom she was sacrificed. Together they journey to the Forest of Lada to burn down the tree of the man who killed her. So, a lot going on there in the blurb. So that is kind of like the key things that happen, but there's a lot of other things that go on in the book which I'm not going to spoil. This by the way is the non-spoiler review. I am going to do a spoiler review too, so for those of you who've read the book, if you want to like discuss things further, tune in for that video. I'm going to upload it all in the same day, so it's going to be a double upload. So I'm probably, if I'm quick enough, might link it in at the end of this video. So kind of like the themes within the book are religion, spirituality, totalitarian government, kind of like the theme there with the Hunger Games, whether it's like, you know, it's a like dictatorship government. We've got kind of like that theme going on, and we've got like forgiveness and change. That's like a theme that goes on, and rebellions and like revolutions. So kind of like common themes that you'd find in like a kind of dystopian young adult, teeny, tweeny kind of book. In terms of the writing style, so yeah, if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes. In terms of like the writing style, I'd say it was okay, but what really bothered me about the writing style was that it was in third person, and it's definitely a writing style that, it's not the best writing style, but it's definitely something that you have to like kind of get used to. You do get used to it eventually. I feel like by the third chapter you're used to it. You might kind of be like, oh, I wish this was written in a different style like halfway through, but it's not so bad that you can't physically read the book. You'll get over it, but definitely the writing style could have been better. I think it was really bold to write in third person, and I feel like sometimes the writing style kind of went as in like, it was kind of confusing because sometimes it felt like the narrator was like a commentator, but then it was kind of like saying the character's thoughts out loud while still being in third person. So sometimes it got a bit confusing, and sometimes it kind of felt like you were reading a script, and the author does have a background in script writing, so maybe that's why I kind of feel like it almost felt like a script, is because there was a lot of information put into the book, where sometimes it was kind of like a show and not tell thing. Like I've done a lot of like writing workshops, and there's a lot of emphasis of like show and not tell, and like sometimes for example, this isn't what was on the page, but for example, it'd be like, say for instance, she looked into the mirror that her grandma once knew, and her grandma was a firefighter who burned out this building a long, long time ago, which set off this. I feel like there was a lot of that going on, where it was kind of like it should have been weaved in more subtly into the story, rather than it was kind of just, I'm going to throw in this bit of information. But I definitely think that there should have been some input from either a co-writer or an editor that had a lot more kind of input in the writing, because the words were fine, just the way that it was written could have been improved, and I feel like that would have made a smoother reading experience and would have made the book a lot better. As for the story was pretty solid, really strong, gripping story. Kind of like, obviously there's like a fantasy element in it, and like the whole world or realm within this which the story is set, you get a really good visualization you can visualize it in your head, the kind of story that Liz Kerin has created. So you can tell she had a really strong concept of the story, and I feel like the story is strong enough to excuse the writing style. It's got gripping characters, very likable characters. Even the villain, it's kind of got a villain that you kind of love to hate, and the story kind of builds you up to invest in a series. So obviously the book ends on a kind of cliffhanger, kind of builds you up to want to read the next book. I feel like she does that very well, and the story is very strong. I really like the characters. We've got a female kind of lead character. It's kind of like a split characters, like the way that it is, it's kind of like split between the main character's brother, kind of the demon, and then the villain. So I feel like I keep going back to the writing style, but I feel like it would have been beneficial to have them in first person for each character, so each chapter perhaps would be of that character, or if they were going to split it up like the Divergent books, obviously they had I'm not sure if they did it in the first book, but I feel like in the second book we saw the point of view from one of the other protagonists rather than just the main one. So I feel like that's how they should have split it up, and I feel like that would have made kind of like character building stronger, where with the writing style that it was a bit confusing, but the storyline is good enough so that the strong characters shine through. It was great to have like a kind of female protagonist that was like strong, and she was a fighter, and she didn't give up, and she kind of didn't really need anyone to save her. She was the one doing the saving. So it's kind of, it's nice to hear those stories, and those are kind of like the dystopians that I'm kind of drawn to, where there's like a strong female character. So I feel like she portrayed that very well in the books. And then obviously there's Dov. He's like this demon guy, and also the villains. I guess you don't really see more of like, there's like two villains in there. One of them is kind of like mysterious, but that kind of works within the kind of whole storyline, that he's this like mysterious guy and we don't really know much about him. And then we've got the other kind of villain, and we get to kind of see his vulnerabilities and see how he's not this like big evil guy all the time, and he's vulnerable himself. It would have been nice to be able to like pick each character's brains by having it in first person, but I feel like the construct of the characters were strong. There was a good mixture of characters within the film. Even though it's not written in first person, you still start to have that attachment to all of the characters. I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think it was a really solid first book. Obviously, the writing I feel needs to be improved. I definitely want to read the second book. I definitely would love to see it as a film. I could definitely see it being like the next big dystopian film series. So hopefully that gets picked up. Hopefully, I'm hoping that it does blow up and then a film gets made. But yeah, just for the sequel, hopefully we'll have everything in first person. Fingers crossed, and maybe just a bit more consulting with an editor or perhaps a co-writer. Or like a book supervisor per se, rather than like a co-writer, a book supervisor that could say, you know, this line is good, but it would be better if you were to write it this way. I definitely recommend you guys checking it out. It's out in America. Obviously, it was shipped to me from California, but I'll put a link below if I can find where to get it from in the UK, or I might just give the author of all the publicists a cheeky message and be like, where can people get it from the UK? And I'll definitely put that in the link below. But yeah, if you have read the book already, let me know your thoughts on it. Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know if you've read the book or not, or if you're interested in reading it if you haven't yet. And if you have read the book, check out my spoiler review and we can discuss things further. And if there's any authors that are watching this, holler at me if you want me to review your books. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. I'm literally like 3 away from 300, and it would make my whole month if you subscribe to my channel and help me hit my target. So yeah, until next time guys, bye!